Hello, children. Ready for our story time? Today's book is by Eric Carle, one of our favorites, right? Remember him? So, he also happens to write a book about sea animals, which suits us because we're looking into the ocean, right? His book, this one, is called A House for Hermit Crab. And we've seen hermit crabs before, right? In sharing a shell and the whole of the bottom of the sea. So, hermit crabs, they live inside these shells for protection, but then they grow, and after they grow for a while, after a while, they need to look for a bigger shell to fit so that they fit inside. They're not too tight. And that's what's going to happen to this hermit crab. Being an Eric Carle book, there's a lot of repetition. Now, repetitions mean that there's going to be some sentences that are said over and over again. And your job today is going to be to try to guess, to try to predict what is going to be said. So, you're going to look for the pattern in what is said. And I might stop sometimes to give you a chance to say the word before me. All right? Let's try it. I know you can do it. Hands together, let's call the story. Hands together, spread your fingers, and go. Now it's time for the story to start, and we will listen with all our hearts. Ole, 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 ola. Ole, 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 ola. A house for Hermit Crab. Time to move, said Hermit Crab one day in January. I've grown too big for this little shell. He had felt safe and snug in his shell, but now it was too snug. Hermit Crab stepped out of the shell and onto the floor of the ocean. But it was frightening out in the open sea without a shell to hide in. What if a big fish comes along and attacks me? He thought. I must find a new house soon. Early in February, Hermit Crab found just the house he was looking for. It was a big shell and strong. He moved right in, wiggling and woggling about inside it to see how it felt. It felt just right. But it looked so, well, so plain, thought Hermit Crab. Now, plain is too simple. There's not much color, there's no decorations. It's too simple for him. In March, Hermit Crab met some sea anemones. They swayed gently back and forth in the water. How beautiful you are, said Hermit Crab. Would one of you be willing to come and live on my house? It is so plain. It needs you. I'll come, whispered a small sea anemone. Gently, Hermit Crab picked it up with his claw and put it on his shell. In April, Hermit Crab passed a flock of starfish moving slowly along the seafloor. How handsome you are, said Hermit Crab. Would one of you be willing to decorate my house? I would, signaled the little sea star. Carefully, Hermit Crab picked it up with his claw and put it on his house. In May, Hermit Crab discovered some coral. They were hard and didn't move. How pretty you are, said Hermit Crab. Would one of you be willing to help make my house more beautiful? I would, creaked the crusty coral. Gingerly, Hermit Crab picked it up with his claw and placed it on his shell. In June, Hermit Crab came to a group of snails crawling over a rock on the ocean floor. They grazed as they went, picking up algae and bits of debris and leaving a neat path behind them. "How tidy and hard-working you are," said Hermit Crab. "Would one of you be willing to come and help clean my house?" "I would," offered one of the snails. Happily, Hermit Crab picked it up with his claw and placed it on his shell. In July, Hermit Crab came upon several sea urchins. They had sharp, prickly needles. "How fierce you look," said Hermit Crab. "Would one of you be willing to protect my house?" "I would," answered the spiky sea urchin. Gratefully, Hermit Crab picked it up with his claw and placed it near his shell. In August, Hermit Crab and his friends wandered into a forest of seaweed. "It's so dark here," thought Hermit Crab. "How dim it is," murmured the sea anemone. "How gloomy it is," whispered the starfish. "How murky it is," complained the coral. "I can see," said the snail. Oops. "It's like nighttime," cried the sea urchin. In September, Hermit Crab spotted a school of lanternfish darting through the dark water. "How bright you are," said Hermit Crab. "Would one of you be willing to light up our house?" "I would," replied one lanternfish, and it swam over near the shell. In October, Hermit Crab approached a pile of smooth pebbles. "How sturdy you are," said Hermit Crab. "Would you mind if I rearranged you?" That was a bit different, huh? "Not at all," replied the pebbles. Hermit Crab picked them up one by one with his claw and built a wall around his shell. "Now my house is perfect," cheered Hermit Crab. I'm gonna move myself. But in November, Hermit Crab felt that his shell seemed a bit too small. Little by little, over the year, Hermit Crab had grown. Soon he would have to find another, bigger home. But he had come to love his friends, the sea anemone, the starfish, the coral, the sea urchin, the snail, the lanternfish, even the smooth pebbles. "They have been so good to me," thought Hermit Crab. "They're like a family. How can I ever leave them?" In December, a smaller hermit crab passed by. "I have outgrown my shell," she said. "Would you know of a place for me?" I have outgrown my house too, answered Hermit Crab. I must move on. You are welcome to live here, but you must promise to be good to my friends. I promise, said the little crab. The following January, Hermit Crab stepped out and the little crab moved in. Couldn't stay in that little shell forever, said Hermit Crab as he waved goodbye. The ocean floor looked wider than he had remembered, but Hermit Crab wasn't afraid. Soon he spied the perfect house, a big, empty shell. It looked, well, a little plain, but sponges, he thought, barnacles, clownfish, sand dollars, electric eels. Oh, there are so many possibilities. I can't wait to get started. What do you think he's gonna do? Will you record your answer? I am so willing to know what your thoughts are. Did you like the story? I hope you did. We always have fun with Eric Carle, right? See you next time.